Watch this interesting conversation with Syra, where we discuss how AI can make 4-day work week a reality and AI can unlock community and creativity through work. Don't miss it. Welcome to the AI for Marketing show. I'm your host, Angelina, with many years of experience marketing the tech industry. This show is for marketers to keep up with the pace of AI. So we host conversations with marketing leaders who are testing the waters of AI. And I'm really excited to welcome to the show Saira Nazir, who is the CEO and founder of Innovient and also an advisor with Silverside AI. Saira, you're a friend, a trailblazer, and definitely someone to watch out, for AI in marketing. So very excited to have you on the show. Would you like to add anything else in your introduction to the viewers?
No, thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it. I'm glad to join you. And as you mentioned, we're friends and colleagues as well. So happy to sort of talk shop and talk about AI. I know we've kind of met each other at conferences and things like that. So we definitely have this common topic that we are monitoring very closely.
Absolutely. So I know that you're doing some groundbreaking work with AI, and I don't mean it lightly. I know like you're literally doing some work that's going to come out in the market and literally change, right? Like the course of how some of the marketing is being done. So I'd love for you to, share with us how you're leveraging AI in your marketing strategy today. Maybe if you want to pick a couple of, headlines, that would be awesome. And then we can dig into the details too.
Absolutely. So I think the vision for me and building a company is really going to be, with the core theme in mind of leveraging AI everywhere and anywhere we can. So I really believe companies of the future will probably be, making either 1 to 2 billion, maybe more, with most likely less than 30 employees.
Mm.
And that vision is possible only because of AI. A lot of the repetitive, work that teams do can be automated while allowing the team to spend more time on creative thinking of where they want to go, visionary thinking, thought leadership, strategic positioning, strategy, and things like that. And so that's really where we want to play with our products. We want to be able to come in and raise the bar, so to speak, within marketing. And we really firmly believe that marketing will be one of the biggest parts of a business organization that will be most disrupted by AI, and disrupted in a good way. I think it will actually, and this is a very bold statement on my part, but I really believe it will make the 4-day work week a reality for everyone.
Wow, I'm going to hang on to that, right? Because that's that's something that we all want to know, right? Like how do we do that? The 4-day work week, and it's actually linked to something else that you also mentioned. A couple of things actually that are weaving in over here, right? Like one, you mentioned that literally you think that $1 billion business is going to be possible just with 30 odd employees, right? And then you also spoke about essentially the job content itself shifting, right? Like with AI, as in, you talked about, and I'd actually like to, understand a little bit more about like what you mean by that when you say that it's not necessarily coming for our jobs, but it's actually going to free up our jobs for more creative and more strategic work. I think there's a lot of fear out there, and while people are hearing this, that it's going to change the job that humans are going to be involved in, there isn't that much clarity in like what that can look like. So, if you can maybe share, you know, some specific examples of how you're seeing the job content, change from maybe like say 5 years ago or even 2 years ago to what you're yourself seeing in either your company or in your clients? I think that'll be really interesting, right? Because all of us are kind of like wondering that change is coming, but how is it going to impact, my world and my role, and what will that look like?
Absolutely. And I can give you I can sort of respond to that with a very clear example. So, you and I both have put strategic plans together. We've done so many different things. We've done execution and all kinds of things, right? I'll tell you that there is so much time spent in looking at reports, downloading reports, after behavioral marketing really became big around 2010. We saw the enormous proliferation of software to target different touch points, create reports and reports that you can download, and then the proliferation of analytical software to pull those reports down for you to analyze it. There is still a big gap between all of those islands, right?
Mm,
It's still not connected. And so there is still a lot of time spent by the marketer to go and download all of these, look at all of them, figure out and piece together how one relates to the other. And most marketing teams, they don't really have a data science function built out. They barely have an analytics function that may or may not sit or be embedded in their team, right? So that's a challenge. And, getting into the queue of analytics is quite difficult. So we spend, I would say 80 to 90% of our time compiling the data into a
yep,
PowerPoint, trying to go through those slides and come up with three action items that we think are the right way to move forward. And more often than not, those three action items are very similar to what we did last quarter. There's really no change, right?
yeah,
And it's because we just don't have the time to really think through what should we do differently, because it requires a lot of reasoning, inference. It
mm,
requires correlation of data across different platforms, different environments, and
mm,
we just don't have the skills, the time, the staff, the bandwidth to be able to do that. So what ends up happening is we are basically spending all of our time compiling and very little time actioning or understanding what our action should be. So we cut the business short. And this is where I feel like a lot of our time will be freed up, because if all of this could be automated, everything from strategy to execution is automated in one thinking stream or one loop of action that continues to self-optimize, right?
mm,
It gives us enormous time back of sitting and strategizing and what I call workshopping the business, which is sitting, in sort of a group of like-minded marketers or people within your company of all levels, and really trying to understand what are different customers that we can go after, what enormous benefits can we create for customers that are not available in the product's features. I actually believe freeing up that time with AI will give us more connections into other parts of the organization, like with product and engineering teams, that right now it's like more islands, right? And it's
mm,
not just a data island where you're trying to connect data and trying to connect information for your customers. It's actually an island between people,
yeah,
between disciplines within a business organization, that once you bridge it, you can actually come up with better features, more engaging products, products that make a difference in customers' lives, and products that really fulfill what I feel like is the true north.
yeah,
And the true north is really, it's great for customers, it's great for companies and shareholders, and it's great for employees. Employees feel fulfilled that they're providing really engaging products, messaging,
yeah,
tactics, go-to-market strategy that that helps customers come to the product and helps the product meet the customer's needs.
Yeah, I love it actually, because I think what you're talking about is that we spend so much of our times in just collecting the data and getting the data ready and the reports ready.
Yes.
And then the journey really is from data to insights to action, right? And what you're seeing is that it's actually freeing up a lot more quality time, right? Like to get to the action, right? Which benefits the ultimately the customer, right? And ultimately the product bottom line. So, are you seeing this in action, right? Like, have you in your own company, across your clients, actually seen that so many hours got freed up? Or, like this person used to just be drowning, right? In just kind of like, or chasing their own tail to get ready for the next QBR, to get ready for the next, presentation, and is now suddenly looking up and saying, wow, I can actually breathe and I can actually think bigger picture. Like, I know this is a snapshot that we're trying to get to, but are you seeing glimpses of this already in your world?
I am living it. And that is actually the backbone of the company that I'm building. The backbone of it must be a 4-day work week. It must be more thinking time, more thought leadership, more giving back to the community,
Mhm.
and more of delighting the customer, more of that true north thinking that I mentioned earlier. So I'm building this company from day one with that thinking in mind. So everything. And I'll give you an example. We have it's about like a video of a minute and 20 seconds or so, something like that, that we created for one of our flagship products called Morpheus, right? So, the normal process for that is you come up with a creative brief, you have, an idea or concept in mind, you have what you want to relay to the customer. And from that, you are able to send it out to an agency or hire a freelancer. You go through an RFP process, right? You try to find the right one, go check their references, etc., see what's in your budget. You hire that person, brief them, and like I don't need to go through every single step, but it is a pretty long step, right? That can eventually get you that 1 minute and 20-second
Mhm.
video. So the one that's on our website right now on our homepage, I actually just did in 5 minutes.
Whoa.
And it's pretty good. And I did not write the script myself. The script wrote itself, based on what was on the website, different things like that, the goals that I wanted to create. I was able to quickly tweak a few things to get it down. It was around 2 minutes. I got it down to 1 minute and 20. That whole process was 5 minutes, and it just hosted on YouTube, linked it back to the site, and boom, I'm done,
And you're
right?
done.
And imagine how many how-to videos, product demos, tutorials, and things
Yeah.
like that that you can be able to do
Yeah.
with in minutes. And there's another company called puppydog.io, which is also breaking tremendous ground in this specific area, where you basically will go into your product, click around a few places, no voiceover, no nothing,
Mm.
click around to a few places, and it will create a product tutorial complete with a voiceover of what you're actually doing and how beneficial that is to the customer in minutes. And this is an example of how everything will be revolutionized in the world of marketing and whatever we do.
Wow. Yeah.
And the quicker we adopt it, the more we are going to get to the stage where we uncover new job descriptions and new roles that we will need to hire against. And if I sort of want to go back to memory lane of when behavioral marketing and Facebook and social marketing came onto the scenes and everything got more analytical, yes, there were there were parts of people's jobs that they had to do less of, and more money got spent in digital marketing. But as a result, more roles started opening up,
Mm,
more opportunities for software. The MarTech stack started to come up and pop up, and this was a thing. There was never something called the MarTech stack,
mm,
right? So I I think there's a big hesitancy among companies in adopting AI tools for a couple of reasons. I think they're afraid, right? Like what's going to happen. There's a lot of internal churn. There's also a lack of budget. So what's happening is there's a great hype happening around AI. There's a plethora of tools out there, but CMOs and business organizations are not being given additional budget. They're being asked to do this within their existing budget. So they have to take it from demand generation budgets, which
mhm.
nobody wants to do because you have a goal that you have to meet. So there's really this sort of catch-22 happening right now. And I think the quicker we get around it, the more we could get to a state where we have now uncovered a whole new era of different job and opportunities that are available for people to hop into.
Yeah. I mean, this is actually you touched on so many different things that we could, get into. We talked about like the skills, right? Like for future-proofing marketers. I mean, it's not just like, saving your job, but it's also about like how do we become even more relevant, right? Like for the AI world of tomorrow. And then also, I think you touched upon a really important thing, which is a topic in itself, which is how do marketers, not just make the case for more budget for AI, but how do they actually take the steps to start moving out of the proof of concept phases into very specific well thought out use cases so that they can actually start showing the returns and then making a case for budget, right? So I think that's also something which is different from 2024, because 2024 people were very much just talking about experimentation, and everybody was like exploring, right, like AI. But now suddenly, even though we're just one quarter into 2025, right, CMOs are being asked to essentially put budget on AI only if they are sure, right, about the return. So I think that itself is I mean, a topic, right, like to get into, and maybe even share some nuggets and what your advice would be for marketers who might be watching this and who might be in the same conundrum, right? Like how do I get more budget? But I actually wanted to, if you don't mind, like peel back a little bit even further, because I thought, obviously puppy dog, anything to do with like puppies catches my attention. So, so that's a great, leave behind for our viewers. Um, and a little before that, right? Like you talked about your very own, use case where you were able to do that 1 minute and 20 seconds video in less than 5 minutes. I think that's a very specific thing, and that's literally a wow, right? So do you mind like sharing, what tool did you use? Is it free? Is it paid? Anything in your experience, right? Like as you prepped up to use the tool, so that again, those who are listening, if they want to play around with something like that, then that's something that they can get into.
Yeah, so in video AI was the tool that I used.
Okay.
It's a very good tool, and most of the AI tools out there are, this concept of trial, right? Like, so in SaaS, we're very familiar with the 30-day trial, the 7-day trial, the Netflix model, et cetera, et cetera. But I think, as we get into the world of AI, it is going to very much be premised on a consumption model. And the reason for that is because everything is premised on AWS and tokens and usage. And so it is, AI is going to vastly change the way that we bill customers because it's going to then navigate over to be a consumption model more than a subscription and entitlement. So, as we looked at the evolution, it was like buy once and you don't have to do anything else. We navigated over to subscription model. I think the consumption model is definitely the wave of the future. So, in video AI basically, I think gives you a few tokens that you can use for free, but then you can pay. but I was just blown away with what I was able to do. It was really a no-brainer for me to sign up for the um, annual access, for the tool.
Interesting.
And like I said, it still allows you to edit. Um, and no tool is going to be perfect right now. And I think that's what everybody needs to understand. It is not going to replace everything.
Mhm.
And you do have to spend a little time to work at it if you want to refine it, but out of the box, it's pretty powerful.
Cool. And peeling back even further, right? Just because you've been sharing so many nuggets here, but I want to hang on to that vision of the 4 day work week.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Right? Yes, yes. So for that 4 day work week, and you mentioned that you're actually it's inbuilt in the fabric of the company that you are building, right? So share with us a little bit more about, are you actually using that in your I would say like your, products description and tagline and, is productivity, right? Like the value that you're offering through what you're building at Innovient. And the other thing around that is that also does that also mean when you say that it's inbuilt that it's actually your operations are so streamlined, right, that you're actually able to build a company that can produce the same value that we were, operating, say, a year ago, right? Would do only in like cramming a 7 day week, right? So essentially, if you want to share a little bit more about, how that 4 day work week, right, actually is manifesting itself, right? Like in through your product and through your company operations too, right? Like all leveraging
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, it is definitely part of the fabric of what we are building, and it is a core value for Innovient to make sure what we do supports a 4 day work week for our employees. So that is a key value that I it's a cornerstone for our
Yeah.
company for
Yeah.
sure, right? So I think it goes to the benefit that our products also provide. So yes, everything that you're talking about in terms of production time savings, um, you know, uh, you know, document analytics,
Mhm.
collation, planned production, briefs production, all of that in a fraction of the time that it would take you manually to pull it all together means that the team has more time to talk to each other, to talk to people across the aisle, for sales and marketing to finally not be enemies
Yeah.
and really work together, and be sort of, as a unified team for us to work with marketing, with work product. And so I think it just revolutionizes the way we not only go to market, the fashion in which we go to market, but the way that teams and people relate to each other. And that when you unlock that,
Yeah.
there are so many opportunities that are possible that you could never imagine because I'll tell you, for the longest time, ever since the Industrial Revolution, it's been siloed. There has not been a solution to this. And I think AI will be able to really usher in that sort of solution for teams and people. And that's really what we aim to build. We aim to build products that maximize efficiency, that cut down on cost and productivity time, that cut down on go-to-market time, and pull in rich sentiment data that you don't need to spend hours and hours to understand with actionable insights.
Yeah. And actually, you took me back to I don't know how many years. I'm not going to number the years.
Please don't say the Industrial
No,
Revolution.
I'm not. I'm talking about the time when you and I used to actually be drowning in work, right? Like this is
Yeah.
our Norton days where we never had time to even like talk to each other, right? Like we were just
Absolutely.
like, I just remember like our heads down, right? Like just doing our work. And
Yeah,
you know,
passing each other on the hallway and
yeah,
saying, "Oh, hey, what about such and such thing? Can you
exactly,
get to it?" "Yes, I'll get to it. 5 minutes." This
totally.
this is not a life. This is not a
Yeah.
work life. Work life should be fulfilling. It should engage our creative juices. It should bring out the strengths that everybody comes to the company with, right? And right now, our work week just does not do that. There's more pressure on the employees to do more, in less time.
I mean, I was sort of like joking on that memory, right? Like where we never had time to like even get to know each other better, right? Like that only happened like over the years, right? It took
Right,
a drip, like to actually get
right,
to that
right.
state. But you just mentioned something which is something that I've been like thinking about a lot actually lately, which is community and creativity. And normally when we think of like we want to have more community and we want to bring in more creativity into the world, we don't think of work as an outlet for that, right? We think
Absolutely.
of work as something that's very serious, gotta be done. Or the other extreme is we think of work as, this ladder to climb on, right? It's almost like it's a medal that we give to ourselves, like as we start like climbing that ladder, and it's very intricately tied to our identity, our sense of identity. So I've been, thinking a lot about these topics lately, and just bringing it back full circle. I feel that with AI, with the freeing of our precious resources, right? Like whether it's time or even our brain cycles, we're actually going to be able to get more creative and also be able to build community, even at work and through work, right? Instead of the same old analyst looking at data, turning out the reports, right? They can actually get more creative, exactly how you were describing it, right? And we can actually build community, exactly like how you were saying about the different islands that have existed, and you can actually go across the aisles and across the islands and work with product folks, work with customer success, right? Just because now we have the bandwidth and the time to do it, right? So this is actually, I think, a lot of changes, of course, with AI, right? And even though the show is trying to like focus on the world of marketing and AI, I think broadly speaking, we're all thinking about, right, like how it's actually going to enrich our lives beyond just our marketing careers. And so it's all exciting times. There's definitely a little bit of concern and fear that folks have. And that's the idea, that we want to have these conversations so that folks can share, right? Like, what are also some of the silver linings, right, that we're already seeing. So,
Absolutely.
so Syra, anything you want to maybe add, for viewers here, if they are just getting started in AI in their marketing journey, or like you said, if they're having trouble, right, like getting budget approvals, because what you said was absolutely true, that they're having to get it from demand gen budgets, and that is usually tied to an ROI. So that's not a great situation to be in, right? So any advice at all for marketers, on some tools or the practices, right, that you would advise folks to start looking at. And I'll just leave you with my last bit also. If you want to share with us a little bit more about Innovient, and what you do, and how that could be interesting to marketers out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that my advice to companies would be to adopt. The price point is so low that it should not be a barrier. Your budget ideally should not be a barrier to try. Look at your marketing funnel. There are many companies that are providing product and services at every part of that funnel. Start experimenting at all parts of the funnel. I'm seeing a lot of companies mostly experiment at the execution stage. Creative, content, test and learn, auto post on your social media, things like that, which is great. But I would really encourage companies to start going up that funnel and really experimenting with, auto lead generation. Conversica is another great company that does great sort of lead nurturing, and be able to really implant and start learning more and more about how they can implement and install AI at different parts of that funnel and what impact to their metrics they're seeing from that, because impact to the top part of that funnel could also impact indirectly the bottom part of the funnel. If they don't have those two working together, they won't know.
Yeah.
So I would really try to encourage everybody. And I think we're all waiting for that leader, that innovator who comes in and says, hey, yes, I have tried it. I've tried it for 6 months. Here's my case study
Yeah.
that other companies can take to their executive teams and show them as proof to try to go forward, right?
Mm.
And we're not seeing a lot of that happen yet. It's just very sort of sporadic and fragmented experimentation.
Yeah.
And yes, so Morpheus is Innovian's flagship product. We basically are revolutionizing marketing strategy and execution by seamlessly integrating AI-powered analytics, customer insights, media mix modeling, and it's a product that is designed specifically for marketing professionals, and it's designed for the connection between the CMO and the CFO.
Mm.
So this is a bridging software between those two divisions and many more, right? And basically, it's able to synthesize market trends, financial data, performance metrics into creative briefs, strategic plans that also basically allow you to scenario build on top of it. So we have a really great feature called AMA, Ask Me Anything, which allows you to just chat, because when the machine learning model understands your business positioning, competitors, NPS scores for you and competitor and the industry, right, it's able to advise you on what to do next. So you can basically say, hey, what would happen if I move 20% of my marketing budget from Google to Facebook? What impact on my business would that have? Or I have, the opportunity to spend 2 or 3x more in budget. Where should I invest? And
Mm.
it can immediately give you that response. And so you can basically scenario build to your heart's desire,
Mm.
in that sort of part of the tool. So we are really raising the bar within marketing, and I think it's definitely going to be ushering in this new era of how we market as marketers.
Awesome. I mean, it's obviously for me, I want to dig in and I want to learn more about it. So I think that warrants a completely like a show just dedicated to that. Because like you said, it's not about promising a product that's going to solve all your problems, right? It's also about experimenting. And I think it would
Absolutely.
be very interesting for folks to see what's possible. And it might take some, twists and tweaks and turns to get it right. But I applaud you, right? Like for even tackling that problem, because it is a big problem, because there
It
is
is.
so much of data and, it needs to be shepherded, right? Um, so I think we are almost on time, and I am extremely, grateful for you to take out time. You're really busy tackling really important things. So thank you for coming on, and I'm sure that viewers are gonna learn a ton, right? Like from this conversation, and I'll try to like recap it as well so that folks can get to the nuggets. So thank you again, Sarah, and have a wonderful weekend.
Yes, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.